Now,
So again, I just thank you for inviting me to your Change Makers and your international group. Thank you very much. Glad to be here. I'm one of the things that I and my business that I've started a couple years back are about is making the change and making the change in your own life to start with, because I think that you can't make a change in the world until you're clear on your path. And what I mean by your path is no, we don't know all the answers, but we have an idea within ourselves, in our intuition, of what direction we should be going in, what excites us as far as our passion, and hopefully what our purpose is. Most people know that, but a lot of people don't. And that's one of the things I do as a life coach, as a transformation coach, is try to help people get that clarity and then follow that path. My business I started is called Lifestyles with Purpose. So you can reach that if you'd like at www.lifestyles with an S with purpose.com. And I have a lot of things on there on my page. I'm creating courses. Right now, I'm in the middle of a program called My Life Matters, where I hopefully will be beta testing that program and then walking people through exactly some of the things that we're talking about today. I've also written a book, which you can find on Amazon if you'd like, and I'll hold it up here. It's called If Not Now, Then When? And it's to help you reach your passion and purpose so that you can live your best life now, in the present, currently. And I wrote that book last year, May of 2020 is when I published it. And some of the things I go over in the book are just what is your passion? Is your passion and purpose the same thing? Do you feel that if it is, are you following it? If you don't think it is, how can we take your passion and your purpose and marry them together and then help you with following that? I have a lot of people ask me, well, how do you know what your passion is? Like, I like a lot of things. And I'm not talking about hobbies necessarily, although they can also be a passion. You can be passionate about a lot of different things. But what I'm specifically talking about today is what excites you when you wake up in the morning? What are some of the things that you've done that have drawn you in your own life to know that you're fully excited about, that you know deep within, that's me, that clicks with me, I know I'm supposed to be doing that? And then your purpose, I believe, is taking those passions and walking through life with them, helping other people with them. I don't feel that you can necessarily be here without helping others. I think if you don't know what you want to do, that's one thing. But whatever it is that you either know or figure out, it must be from a place of paying it forward, of making a difference and an impact in the world, of making a difference in somebody else's life. And you know, a lot of times when you hear things like that, people think that that means some huge, magnificent thing that you do. And yes, it can, but we're not all in the realm of necessarily Bill Gates or Warren Buffett or, you know, Oprah, let's say, that have the finances that maybe can do a lot of the things they do. But you can help somebody in the grocery line in front of you who doesn't have the change that they need, who's embarrassed, who now has to try to put back some of their groceries and has a baby on their hip. You can make small differences that are huge differences in someone else's life. One of my favorite things to do, and it's mostly when I was back home because there's so many tolls that you pay on the highway. you have to stop and pay money to ride on that highway, and that money is some of what supports the road construction and reconstruction and things like that. And I love paying for the person behind me, so that when they get up to the toll booth and they ask them for the $6 or the $10 or whatever that particular toll is, it's paid for. And I love looking in the rearview mirror and seeing their face. You'll never meet that person, but that person might have only had that $10 in their pocket for maybe groceries or gasoline to get to work, or maybe milk to give to their children. And even if they had plenty of money, it still is putting that act of kindness out into the world. So that's one of the biggest things that I like to do. And I've been able to do some of that now as a result of my business. And that's one thing I did with the book that I wrote. I have in here lots of situations that I had gone through, some from childhood on up. But I also have some exercises in my book, hopefully to help other people reach their goals, follow their dreams, and find out what their passions and purpose is. And I have a question for you today. Are you the rookie of your life, or are you the veteran? And age has nothing to do with it. And what I mean by asking that question is, when you're looking through your life, are you as I was for a time, where I constantly said, oh, I want to go do this, but then I'd have a whole lot of excuses, or a whole lot of distractions, or maybe even some blind spots where I knew I wanted to do that, but I was blinded by other things that I felt were more pressing. And so I never did them. Now I don't do that. Now I do everything I can within my boundaries, within my reason, within my finances, to explore some of those things. Here's one example, and this might seem small to some people. I've always wanted to learn how to paint. I have artists in my family. My mother and father both were artists, both painted and did other things. I've always wanted to paint, and mostly watercolor. I have never had a painting class or a drawing class in my life. But I'm not letting that stop me, because it's something I've always felt passionate about. Writing for me comes naturally, for the most part. And I started writing when I was 13. I had some poetry published, and then I went on to a magazine article, and now I wrote this book, and I have a couple more books in the works. I said to myself one day, do you want to be the rookie in your life, or do you want to be the veteran? Rookies, a lot of times, are green, like in sports, but a lot of times they have fresh ideas. Veterans are experienced for the most part, but sometimes get stuck in their lives with what they think, okay, well, I've accomplished this, this, and this, A, B, C, and you become stagnant. In the middle there, I believe, is the balance. So I would ask today, are you the rookie of your life, or the veteran, or are you somewhere in the middle? Do you wake up in the morning and feel that excitement to go to work, to do what you're doing? Or do you wake up feeling like, oh, another day? Do you feel like you're giving back to community? Do you feel like you're helping people, even if it's just a neighbor, maybe paying that toll, paying that change at the grocery store? Or maybe just smiling at someone that day who looks like they're having a bad day. You know, we have a lot of different people here, and a lot of different people who will hear this, who speak different languages. We all come from different backgrounds. We all come from different financial positions, different races, different cultures. But a smile is universal. When you smile at someone, no matter what your language is, what your race is, or what your culture is, or what part of the world you come from, we all know what that smile means, right? And so, even if it's just a smile at someone who looks like they're having a bad day, you are planting that seed in their life. You are being that change maker in their life. You are affecting their life for the better. We don't know each other's stories for the most part, but what if that person was so depressed, something so bad had happened? Maybe they were even contemplating suicide that day. And your smile made all the difference. We just don't know how we touch people until we touch them, until we try to touch them, until we try to pay that forward. So it's just so important to me, not only in my business, but also just as a person, first and foremost, that I hopefully make a difference in somebody's life on a day-to-day basis. We do it so easily when it comes to our spouse or our significant other or our children, family members, even some best friends perhaps. And that's great. That's wonderful. We should. But I'm talking about going even further than that. And I don't think I have ever had a job, even in just regular 9 to 5, let's say, I've worked a couple jobs at a time, where it didn't benefit the community in some fashion. I wouldn't be able to work a job where that didn't happen. And I've done everything mostly. I was in criminal justice. I've done mostly everything from administrative assistant to enforcement agent. I've done a wide gamut of things where I had to deal with some really, really tough people. But there was a purpose in it for me. And so while I was doing those different jobs in my career, I didn't necessarily like the work I was doing, but because it benefited the community in some way, it made all the difference in my life. So I'm here today just to ask you, again, are you the rookie or the veteran? Or are you somewhere in the middle? You know, there's an old adage I talk about sometimes where, and some of you might have heard this, where we have a birth date when you're at a funeral, okay, or you're looking at a gravestone or a plaque. You have a birth date and you have the year somebody died. And in the middle is a dash. That dash is what actually represents their life. That dash is all the stories that they could have told and did tell, all of the struggles that they had been through, all of the consequences and situations and circumstances that they went through, both good and bad, because as we know, there's always a yin and a yang, right? There's always a good and a bad to everything. There's pros and cons. But that dash was the middle of their life. The first date, the birth date, that's when they were a rookie up to a certain point. The end date, they were a veteran by that point. No matter what their age was, that was the end of their life. And in the middle was the dash. In the middle is the story. And you know, we were talking about COVID earlier, we've lost so many people to COVID worldwide. But I know in the United States, there was just a report the other day where we passed the number, I think it was 600, it's now over 625,000 people. We passed the 1918 Spanish-American flu, where so many people died. We passed that number. Every one of those people had a dash. Every one of those people had a purpose. And I got to thinking about that, is because it's a huge number. But I also got to thinking about how many of those people thought they had tomorrow promised. They were going to do what they had put off, whatever that was. They were going to fulfill their passions, whatever that might be. They knew they had a purpose on earth, or maybe they were trying to find their purpose, and they got stuck or frustrated or felt lost during the way, and they didn't get to that point. And then something happened, like COVID, and then they died. How many people could they have helped change, help make their lives better, help their situations, paid that change at the grocery store, paid that toll, smiled. How many people who died thought they had tomorrow? And that's when I started hearing last year, actually, the title of my book, If Not Now, Then When? When are we going to do it? When are we going to answer that call in our life? We don't have tomorrow. It's not promised. And that's not a negative message. That's a positive message for me, because that just excites me even more that I need to help more people. I need to coach more people. I need to be present in the moment and hopefully pay that forward. So I just want to thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Lori.